And welcome to the ninth episode of Wolverine Chat. We apologize. This one took a little longer to get busy. We both had kind of crazy weeks, and we're just getting to it now. So we're enjoying it, looking forward to it. Unfortunately, my partner in crime is out ill, sick. He's going to help me with the producing part. He's sitting right here, so he'll be giving me the dirty looks like he always gives me, but he won't be responding as his voice uh, well, sounds like a girl, to be honest. Anyway, today we're going to be going over the Michigan and Purdue game. We're going to be talking about some questions that we have that I want you, the listeners, to answer and put in the comment section. We're going to be touching on Mozzie Smith. He plea bargained to a misdemeanor. We're going to touch on the football playoffs, of course. Talk a little bit about Michigan basketball, a little bit more about the Lions and their big victory over Jacksonville and their huge game against Minnesota tomorrow that I am just can't believe I am this excited about this far into the season. We're going to have this week's Tim's take, and this is going to be about the Heisman Quarterback Award that gets every year. You notice I said Heisman Quarterback Award because I'm sick of it being a quarterback award. Having said that, let's get into this. And Nate, thanks for helping. And I apologize. So to everybody out there, all my notes, I'm going to have to do this kind of differently. So if it sounds a little slow or I have to kind of take my time, I apologize for the gaps. I'm just kind of flipping over to my new notes and everything. So let's start with that. First, before we go any further, it is really important that I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Demetrius Michi Walker. If most of you fans probably know who he is by now, he was a high school recruit who played at Muskegon, I believe in 2017, 2018. And it was his dream to play for Michigan. He was getting really close to that dream. Michigan had noticed him and started recruiting him. They had not, I don't believe, officially offered him, but I believe he was on the verge of that. And again, if I'm mistaken, you guys can correct me out there. But in November of 2020, he found a bump on his leg. Didn't know what it was, of course. Went into the doctor and found out that he had cancer. He was diagnosed with, and it's hard for me to pronounce, but oscaroma. I won't even say it. It's cancer in the leg. He endured surgeries and chemo for about a year, and then April of 2021, it had gotten so bad that they had to remove his leg. And which was, I mean, think about if you're not playing football. You're just a kid at 19 years old or 18 years old. Finding out you have cancer, that's bad enough. And then you have to have your leg removed. If you survive this horrible disease, and I've battled cancer, I've survived it and I've beaten it, and it's a terrible disease. But I'm 57 years old. I think it's different when you're 19. So he had to go through all this, and then knowing he'll never play football again. Well, anyway, Michigan got a hold of his situation, and in August 13th of 22, they invited him to a practice game in the fall camp. They all signed Michigan jersey. They just all made him part of the team. They actually rolled him into the end zone in his wheelchair and got a touchdown, and everybody clapped and hugged. It was just, I've seen the video, and it was just overwhelming. And then on the September 24th, I believe, against Maryland, they introduced him in the big screen, and they brought him in, and you could see he was in tears. A lot of people I was around was in tears, and we gave him a standing ovation, and you could just tell he was just so happy, and it meant so much to him. And this just goes back to how Michigan is. You can say what you want. I don't care. I mean, you can like Michigan State, you can like Ohio State, you can like any team you want, and you should support that team. But I'm proud of my team. I'm proud of my university and how they handle and the class which they do things. And he passed away a couple days ago, and it's been all over social media and the news and ESPN. And I just want to reach out to his family and tell him that your prayers are out. I give you my prayers out to your family. He had a little 2-year-old boy who will not have a daddy. I can't remember his oh, here he goes. He's survived by his mom, Liana, and his son is Kamir. So his mom lost a son. I mean, a 19-year-old son, and her grandson, his son, Kamir, will no longer have a dad. But I'm sure they will keep him alive through stories, through how his dad fought and bravely, tried to beat this horrible, god-awful disease called cancer. That unfortunately he was not able to, but he still was a winner, and he will always be a Michigan man. And I just want to say thank you for all you've done, and thank you to the University of Michigan, how you made his last few months something special. So that was I wanted to start the show with that. Okay, so we're going to get into this week's Tim's Takes, and what I want to mention is I want to talk about is the Heisman Trophy winner, or as I mentioned earlier, what I call the quarterback award. Let me go to my notes here. Okay, so they announced the top four, and it was C.J. Stroud, Stetson Bennett, Caleb. What am I trying to say? Caleb Williams from USC, of course, who's pretty much got it won, and Max Duggan from TCU. Now, you mentioned those four guys, and I think there's I'm okay with it for the most part, but there's one person in there is an outlier. There's one person in there that just doesn't make sense to me. So what I'm going to do is read some of these statistics, okay? We'll start with Stetson Bennett, the top finalist from Georgia. And I may have to say, I don't want to tell you that I don't respect him. I don't think he's maybe a great quarterback. Is he a top four quarterback in the country? Not a chance. Let me just say this, too. If you go back over about 20 years, where's my notes here? The average quarterback, and again, almost every one of them is a quarterback except a few. The last quarterback is what I'm trying to say who had less than 20 touchdowns or 20 touchdowns or less was Josh Heupel, which is actually his coach at Hooker's coach at Tennessee. It was somewhere around 2021, and he was a finalist and had 20 touchdowns. Since then, everybody's had more than 20 touchdowns. Stetson Bennett, 20 touchdowns for the year, 6 running touchdowns, 26 touchdowns. Wait till you hear these other numbers. His completion rate is, he's a QBR 86.3. Let me see what else I can tell you about him. 20 touchdowns, QBR 86.3, 3,424 yards, 8.7 per. But here's the thing I really don't like. Of the 20 touchdowns, he's had 6 interceptions. 6 interceptions. The ratio on that is, here we go, 30%. So 30 touchdowns to interceptions, 30%. Now let me go with somebody who did not make the Final Four. Hooker, 300. Now he missed a game because of injury. And before I go any further, why? I guess if you're hurt in the middle of the season, you don't have a chance. I get that. But when you're hurt in the last game or the second to last game and you've already earned the stats, why should you lose if you get hurt? It's the best college player, not the best college player currently playing, is it? Hooker, who you could have put in, and even though he was a quarterback, if it was those 4 quarterbacks, you know what? There could be argument for Blake or for some, make a Penix Jr., for other Bijan Robinson from Texas, he could be in. I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But Bennett, no. Hooker, 331.25 total yards, 27 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, which is a 7% touchdown to interception rate. Average 9.5 yards per game. It was an 89 QBR, which is second in the nation. So how can you take Hooker out there? Who else we got? CJ. Okay, you know what? You want to put CJ in the top 4? Fine. But 3,340 yards. His QBR is 87.7, 9.4, 66.2. Decent numbers. Even Max Duggan, 3,321 yards, 30 touchdowns. I'm not sure. I think he's had 6 running touchdowns or 4. I don't know if I have his information here. I did. Let me see what I got. If my little computer is working. Okay, so Max Duggan, 30 touchdowns and rushing. Let's see what he's got. I think he had, it looks like 2 or 3 rushing touchdowns. So, take him. That's fine too. But that 4th spot, that's the question I have, and I don't like it. I don't like how every year, last year, I really felt like Aiden definitely should have been there, but I felt like he was there as a token. Like they could not keep him out with his numbers. They had to. They weren't happy about it, but they did that. Now, how do you fix the problem? In my opinion, it's got to be, you got something to say? Oh, my little sick boy has a comment to make, so go ahead.
Yeah, Aiden definitely should have won the Heisman last year.
Well, I agree, but he needed to be there minimum.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Just because of the numbers he was putting out.
They had no choice. Sure. I don't think they even wanted to have him there.
Exactly.
That's not sexy.
Yeah.
Defense isn't sexy.
No.
I think it's sexy. I love it. You know what I mean? But
defense wins games. So
you don't have to talk if you don't want to. You save your voice. But what's your opinion on my opinion that Stetson Bennett has no...
He isn't a top 5 quarterback at all in the country.
He is not.
No.
20 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. He's a good quarterback, good solid quarterback. He's not a game man. Not a game manager is a bad term.
He's just above average.
Yes, I would agree with that.
For sure.
So Nate, in my opinion, we got to do 3 things to give this award. I think the first thing we need to do is lower the votes from 900 to literally maybe 100. It's not going to make it so regional, so everybody's voting for their own guy. You get 100 people who have a brain. Because I'm telling you, all these voters don't have brains. Okay, they're just, oh, look at this guy. He's my team, so I'm going to vote for him.
Yep.
So go from 900 to 100. I think you need to go from 4 to 5 people coming.
Yeah, easily.
A minimum 5, even maybe 6 if you want. But because if you're the 6th best player in college football, I think you had deserved a trip to New York.
Yep.
And
for
the
sure.
last thing I think we need to do, which to me is the biggest. I don't care if you know who you're going to vote 6 weeks ago. Wait to the conference championships to vote. Right now, they can vote the Monday after the final game. I know who I'm going to vote. So why? What's the difference? Then what's the difference if you wait? This is not like you're mailing in a ballot. It's all electronic. Just wait to the final game. Wait to that conference championship and vote then. And I think if you did that, I think it would be a start to. And I don't know about this, and I'd like your opinion on this. Do you think it would work if you said one of the 6, one of the 5, whatever we go to, has to be a non-quarterback? You think every year there's a player who's not a quarterback who deserves to be there?
Oh, yeah, whether it's top running back in the country, the top wide receiver, tight end, something along those lines. It just has to be a different position player other than a quarterback.
Yeah, and I don't think that's saying, okay, why bring him in if he's not going to win? I think every year I could show you, if I looked at that there's a player who is in the top 4 or 5 in the country who's not a quarterback.
For sure. Yeah.
So if you just said, no, we have to have, I think that would change everything.
Yeah.
And, but like I said, there's just Michael Penix Jr. I think he's done a great job with Washington. And if he was in, 4,300 yards, 29 touchdowns, 8 running touchdowns, 7 interceptions. A lot of interceptions. That's the only thing that's a little bit.
7's not too bad, actually.
Yeah.
7's not too bad.
But it's your ratio, too. If you're throwing a lot, you're going to have more interceptions.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love JJ. And his numbers, the funny thing about JJ, if you look at his number, you take away his yards, 25.76. Why is his only 25.76? It's who he plays for. You can't blame the guy because he gets 10 or 11. And we'll get into this when we talk about.
I think he has, 3 interceptions on the season?
2 interceptions.
2?
Yep. 2 interceptions, 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
Right. He had 2 going into the and
Purdue.
then the third one. So it went from 10% ratio to 15%, and his QBR is just under 80, 65.3. His passing completion percentage and 8.3. So other than his total yards, he's right up there too.
Yeah.
People don't realize that. So I'm just saying, you get creative. Although Caleb Williams, he's got this. I mean, look at these stats. This year. Now, if Corum had played all year and went off on Ohio State, could he have won? Would he have won? I think he
Probably.
probably
He'd
could
be
have.
he'd be
But
going to
even
New
if
York.
They had
Yeah.
put Caleb. I mean, Caleb is the only quarterback that's having an outstanding year. To me, he's the clear-cut guy above at this point.
Yeah,
anyhow,
for sure.
I mean, when you look at maybe if I can pull this up. 4,075 yards, 37 touchdowns, 86.5 QBR, only 4 interceptions. And you saw him when he wasn't hurt in that Pac-10 championship game. That guy, we texted in the first half. It was like, are we really watching this?
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to say. That's my take on what we need to do with the Heisman Quarterback Award. And do you pretty much agree with me, you think? Or?
Oh yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Are you going to be joining us for this rest of the... Okay. That's great. It makes my job a little bit easier. Okay, I wanted to next just congratulate Victor Oluwanti. He had 2 awards this week. The Remington Award, which is the best center, I believe. And congratulations to him. We got him from Alabama. He was a transfer in the beginning of the season, and what a transfer. The Outland Trophy, Premier Interior Lineman of the Year. So congratulations to Victor. Okay, let's talk about last week. Give me your first take on the Michigan-Penn State game.
Purdue.
Yes, Michigan. Oh, that's one of those days. Michigan-Purdue game.
Yeah, for sure. I liked what I saw from Michigan's defense. The first drive that Purdue had, they were getting to Aiden O'Connell, and then for some unknown reason, Jesse Minter decided to run zone back-to-back drives, and it hurt them. It cost Michigan. And then once they realized, this is hurting us, they switched back to man. But the way they were playing the zone, they were like 10, almost 15 yards back off of the wide receivers, and it was absolutely ridiculous. There was
that open space.
There was just so many holes in the center of the field that they were just hitting them every time. And it would go back to the same guy every time.
Charles Jones.
Yeah, Charlie Jones. And
that guy, he's the real deal. But
oh, yeah, for sure. But if you can predict where it's going, and 9 times out of 10 it's going to that one person, and you still are playing a zone, like a soft zone, then that's an issue.
Yeah, because some teams, and I've seen Michigan play kind of I don't know if you want to call it a zone man, but it's kind of, you have help, but you also kind of playing one guy has got that guy, and I think that's what they need. I would have done that from the beginning of the game, but I guess they wanted to make sure that they were doing what they were going to do. Now, the funny thing about that game, Nate, I'm just looking at these stats. If I read you the stats, 27 first downs to 17. I won't tell you which team had, but you probably know. 27 first downs for one team, 17 for the next. Rushing, let's see, what am I looking at? These are not the team stats. Okay, I got you. Rushing, one team 90, one team 225. I think we know who that was. Passing, 366 yards to 161. Completions, 32 completions compared to 11. Average per play, 11 to 14. Total offense, 456, 386. Plays, 84 to 55. What else do I got? Penalties were almost even, 5 for 38 and 3 for 25. Fourth down conversions, 1 for 1, 2 for 2. Anyway, you look at those numbers, and obviously Purdue had the dominating stats all the way down almost. But what they didn't have is that red zone, that bend but don't break defense. Now, I want to make a comment on bend but don't break. I think a lot of time that's kind of a bad defense. Now, in Michigan's case, I don't think it was, but a lot of times it's bend but don't break. When you allow a team to go up and down the field, what happens, you get in the red zone, you only have 10 yards, 15 yards to protect, so it makes it really hard to to defend against.
But it also makes it really hard to score because your playbook is shortened.
Well,
by
yes,
a lot.
that true. That's also. And Michigan, in their case, I think did what they needed to do. But I just would like to see them kind of not let them go down because, I mean, they scored. One of those, two of those plays are touchdowns instead of field goals. And yes, you can. When you're at the 10, it doesn't take much to score. You can just one missed tackle, one missed assignment, and you score. I'd like to, if we're stopping them at the 30 or 40 and they're kicking field goals, I'm great with that. Going down to the 10, the red zone, I don't know how many times. Yeah, I
think their field goal kicker had 5 or 6 field goals.
Yeah, and what we were talking about in the episode before, he was 2 for 6 from 40 to 49. Now, he was close on some of them.
Oh, yeah.
But I looked like a moron because I said if it came down to field goal kicking, Purdue was going to lose. And, well, they lost, but it wasn't because of the field goal kicking. So, when you look at Michigan's offense, I thought, Donovan, of course, it was just a duplicate of Ohio State. I don't think much has changed with JJ or even the play calling. What's happening is we're hitting those plays when he has to. He was 11 for 17. He was 12 for 24 before, but he's hitting those plays. They were trying him before. He was just off. Now we're still running, and that's what I love. We don't need to pass it 30 times. We don't need to pass it 40 times. We need to complete the balls we're throwing, and they're throwing more downfield. They're throwing more intermediate, and some of those balls were just dimes. Now, he, again, started a little slow. It seems like he's been doing that, but I don't care if he starts his first 2 or 3 off a little bit and he gets it going. He'll be fine. And I just don't think it's like, oh, finally Michigan's changing the playbook and they're letting JJ be J. I don't think it's as much that as JJ just doing what he needed to do. I would like to see. I'm glad that he runs. It reminds me that when Jared Goff gets out the pocket, if he throws it away, I feel like, okay, good, we're fine. I'll take that. JJ, when he runs outside the pocket, it's like he's going to complete it. He almost always completes it. But I'd like to see him a few times run it a little bit more.
See, I think differently, actually, because when it comes to playing mediocre teams that are of the Big Ten, depending on who you're playing, but still, it's the Big Ten. So I feel like sometimes a lot of the Big Ten teams rely on more of the rushing attack than they do the pass attack. Unless you're a few teams like Maryland, Ohio, I think that's honestly
really about it.
That can throw the ball and be consistent with it, and then you get to conferences that are the Pac-12.
You forgot Iowa. I mean, that's a passing team like you.
Yeah. And then you get to conferences like the Pac-12, and then like the ACC and whatnot, and they're like pass dominant teams.
Pass first, run second.
Yeah, exactly. And so when it comes to TCU, I honestly genuinely think that they need to let JJ throw it at least at minimum 25 times.
Against TCU?
Yeah, I feel like, because the run game can only do so much, because their defense is actually pretty good up on the line.
TCU's rush defense, like 92nd in the nation?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not going to – we may pass. I'm telling you, this is going to be an old-fashioned Michigan butt whipping. I'm not saying they won't pass. I think they'll continue to pass some because if they get to Georgia –
I feel like if JJ hits a couple plays, then they need to continue to let him pass. Because that's something that's like so inconsistent about Michigan, is because I just feel like that everybody knows what they're going to do first and second down. 99.9% of the time, they run first and second down, depending on the yardage that they gain. And sometimes, it is very rare that we have seen Michigan pass it on first down. It is rare, but they did do it last weekend.
No, they absolutely
did do it. But
yeah, and I will be corrected on that. They did change as far as their first down calling, which I like.
For sure.
I like. You got to guess. Are you going to run or pass? When you don't know what you're going to do on first down, that changes a lot.
Exactly.
Well, I just don't think TCU is a Big Ten team. We have to beat TCU. I think we will. I think we'll probably dominate. But I think I just see us running the ball down their throats. And
we should have a healthy Donovan Edwards, which
well,
is going to be
I don't know
scary.
about his hand, his cast. Have you heard about?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm hoping that we will have a healthy Donovan Edwards
Meaning
in
he
that
can catch the
cast.
ball, yeah.
Exactly. Because when he is healthy and
he's a running back slash. Receiver.
And he's probably one of the best in the country out of the backfield.
I think he could be a receiver on this team.
Yeah.
I mean, they put him out in the in the slot,
and
they put him out wide. How many times?
And he can burn people.
And some of those I'm kind of getting out of. Tell me what's going on with Andrell Anthony. What happened this year? And will they again try to use him in the TCU Fiesta Bowl? And if not, you think there's a chance that he goes?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's because last year him and Cade had a pretty decent connection.
Yep.
Obviously, we saw that throughout some of the games last year. But I just feel like I don't know. I really don't know. But I genuinely hope that this Michigan squad knows what they're missing out on when it comes to this kid, because he is a star.
I don't care
kid.
if they end up 50. And I mean, don't get me wrong. If they're 15-0 and they beat everybody, that's great. That doesn't mean you can't even be better. That's what's scary about this team. I mean, they're not using. I mean, they're passing. Their guys are starting to get open now.
I mean, look at our tight end room. I mean, we just lost Eric All, whatever.
But yes.
But
Loveland,
we got Luke Schoonmaker. We got Colston Loveland. I mean, those two guys. I mean, Colston Loveland.
They just got the number 6 tight end in the country in Hogan Hansen. He's a guy from Washington, 6'6", 220. That guy is gonna make a difference right away. I mean, we just keep getting these. So Eric All. I love the guy. I would, I wanted. I assumed he was coming back, but now that he's gone, next.
We won't talk about it.
Yeah, well, we'll touch it. I want to touch about Cade and him here in a second, but which is weird, but we'll hold on for a second. So back to the Michigan game. I just thought they every week it seems those stats gonna be Cade JJ 20 for 27 but then he's like, wait, he's 12 for 24, he's 11 for 17, but he seems like he's like taking over, but he's not. That just tells you what this team is capable of, and he's just hitting the spots.
Yeah, for sure.
And I am so sick of the haters. Oh yeah, but in those passes against Ohio State, they were wide open. Well, you know how tough it is to hit a receiver when they're wide open. You overthrow them, 5 out of 10 times.
It's extremely hard.
Yeah. So what he did, just to slow them down a little bit, make sure they don't overthrow them, they came in with touchdowns. And I was happy. I was nervous as always, but I don't know why I get nervous, especially against Purdue. I knew the second half would come in, but props out to Purdue's quarterback, O'Connell. He was a beast out there. Him and Charlie Jones, I just
carried that entire team.
They sure did, and we knew, like you said, they were going to pass to him, and they couldn't stop him. So overall, it was a great game. I was happy that the second half showed up, and we once again dominated. Should we have dominated? Yes, but Purdue, it's not a great team, but Purdue's a good team.
They are
and
very
they
good
had
team.
nothing to lose to that game,
Yeah.
and that made me a little nervous. But I wasn't one of those guys that said if we lost, we would have still been in the playoffs, but I didn't want to lose.
The top 3 weren't moving at all.
Yeah.
So.
Now we were, but I don't know if that affected Michigan or not. I don't think it did. I think they just don't hear the outside noise. Every game they go out to win, and that's where we are. So, anything else before we move on?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, that was a nice game. It was fun to watch, and go blue on that. Excuse me. Okay. So, we have a question that I want for our listeners, and I'd like your answer. And I'll give you my answer. And if you first of all, everybody, if you'd like, subscribe, comment, would really mean a lot to Nate and I. We're really slowly starting to grow. We got over 1,000 views, and as we build this up, I think it's going to just get bigger and bigger. We've got a lot of interviews that we're going to be doing, live interviews. I'm going to be at the Fiesta Bowl, and I'll call in a report. We got some people that we're going to be able to interview here soon. So it's growing. It's going to get bigger, and we're real excited. So please like and subscribe. It means a lot to me. And we're still giving those Michigan Penn State tickets. December 15th is the drawing. All you need to do is like, subscribe, and go on to YouTube and hit Go Blue, and you'll be in the drawing automatically. It doesn't matter if you said Go Blue for the last three, which podcast. You just put Go Blue in. That triggers you being in the drawing. So please do that. And if you'd like to participate in this week's show, here's the question. In the modern era, who rate the best coaches you've got? Put them in order. That's Bo Schembechler, Lloyd Carr, Gary Moeller, Brady Hoke, Rich Rodriguez, and of course Jim Harbaugh. So in your opinion, how would you rate those coaches, and in what order?
Oof. Bo is, the GOAT at Michigan.
Yeah.
Nobody, no matter who it is,
It'd be hard
coming
to go
through
above Bo, wouldn't
those gates at Michigan Stadium, nobody can touch Bo. Lloyd Carr second, Jim Harbaugh third, Brady Hoke fourth. He did a lot. His first 2 years if Denard did not get hurt, I felt like they would have went really far that year as well. And then
in 2011 when they won the Sugar Bowl.
No, the year after, because they started off hot,
yes.
and then he got hurt, and then we brought Devin Gardner in, and then everything just started going downhill.
Well,
the next couple
nothing
years.
against Devin. I thought his
arm was just a cannon,
and his attitude. He worked so. What he did, but I agree with you. He wasn't Denard. He probably could pass better than Denard, but when you can run like that, you don't need a
exactly.
I watched some of those videos, and the guy. He did one move, gone every time, and his speed. He was a madman. I am surprised he didn't make it in the NFL at some position. He just wasn't a running back. But
he's back at Michigan now, so he's back at Michigan, so it's always cool.
Oh yeah. I'm real happy with that. So okay, I agree with you on most of them, and we have our third partner coming in, his little daughter. So we'll give this 1 second. Hi, dear. Hey, sweetie. But I'll continue. As far as our coaches, I would put Bo first. Now, Bo hasn't won a championship, but it was a different era. You could end up 2 and not win a national championship. You didn't get into a playoff game. They didn't play for a national. It was all mythical. So because he didn't win any national championships, I think it's kind of bogus. There's teams that were 10-0-1, 11-0 that he didn't make it. It's ridiculous. If he was playing this year, we'd be in the playoffs every other year, if you ask me.
Easily.
So I put Bo first, and people said with no national championship you can't. Secondly, Lloyd Carr, he did win a national championship, so I'm going to put Lloyd. He was pretty consistent. Had a couple of years that he was off a little bit, but I'm going to take him for now. And Jimmy second. However, if we win the Natty this year, I might switch Jim ahead of Lloyd. Put Lloyd third. I don't know yet.
If we win the Natty
the Natty, because right now we haven't. So
if we win the Natty this year, I feel like that solidifies Jim as the GOAT.
Yes.
Because
you put him ahead of Bo.
Yeah.
If we do it twice, I put him ahead of Bo. I still put Bo.
Well, considering the fact that we're in the playoff era, and Lloyd did quite a few things at Michigan as well.
Yeah.
But the only reason Jimmy is third is he is 1-6 in bowl games. He hasn't won a bowl game since his first year.
Right.
And also, the only reason he would get put ahead of Lloyd Carr is because he's won back-to-back Big Ten championships. He has done something that no other team has done in the country. Go from a losing record, starting not in the top 25 at the beginning of the year, and then go to the college football playoff all within 1 year is absolutely incredible.
Well, here, and the last time we won back-to-back outright was 91-92, and who was our coach? Moeller, Gary Moeller. People forget about Gary Moeller. I'm going to put Gary Moeller third, but not because he didn't do a great job. He won 2 out of 3 Big Ten championships. I think if he had not had that one night at a local Ann Arbor pub and got a little bit too drunk, I think he would have been our coach for years to come and been maybe not Bo, but he would have been right there. I think he was a great coach. I think he was a great coach at the Lions. I just think Gary Moeller, I really respect Gary Moeller, and RIP coach, and thanks for everything you did. Then I am going to put Rich Rodriguez. I put Rich Rod ahead of Hoke. I think both of them were not as bad as they said they were. I think Rich Rod was getting better every year. He was. And what proved it is in his fourth year, Brady Hoke went 11-2, won the Sugar Bowl, beat Ohio State, and but I think that was, I give Brady Hoke a lot of credit, but those were Rich Rod's players.
I feel like the only reason why Rich Rod won was because of, like, he got handed a really good team.
Well, he went, okay, they got him, and they knew what they were getting. They were getting an offensive guy. Okay, this was what it was going to be. And then they're like, oh, our defense is this. And I get it. You know, they had to probably get rid of him, but I don't know if he really got a fair shot, although some was self-inflicted when he started talking about some of the traditions. You don't do that at Michigan, and that's what he did. But he's a great coach. He's won everywhere he went.
Who was the quarterback that – was it Tate Forcier?
Tate Forcier, yeah.
Yeah.
Tate Forcier. Sorry, but I had to chuckle at that. But, you know, they went 5-7, 6-6, 7-5, you know, and then 11-1 the next year. But that, so I don't know. And I thought Brady Hoke is a good coach. I'm glad he's doing well at San Diego, or San Diego State. I'm not sure.
Yeah, San Diego State.
San Diego State, and he's doing well. And he's a Michigan man, as they say. A little quirky. No, he wouldn't wear a headset, always in short sleeves, but you know, good guy, great guy. Players loved him, and so those are my in my five that I put in order. So we're close in thinking. Please let us know out there to the listeners what you think. Put the top five from the modern era, starting with Bo, Lloyd Carr, Gary Moeller, Rich Rodriguez, Brady Hoke, and Jim Harbaugh. So now, what you didn't want to talk about. What is your personal opinion now? Did you hear that interview Cade had? Okay. We all, I forget who it was with. It was overnight, and
yeah, I thought it was.
Thoughts, I won't say anything.
No. So at the beginning of the year, I was all for Cade, and my heart broke for the kid. And I mean, you're going into your senior year and you're losing your starting job to a sophomore now. It sucks. Excuse me. And
because he was there redshirt 1 year, didn't play, you know, the COVID year. So
yeah, and then all of a sudden, you know, your world gets flipped upside down. You get hurt in the third game of the season, I think it was.
Yep.
And then
UConn.
Yeah, and then the quarterback room starts filling up, and you know your second and your third strings are getting better and better. Your quarterback, your second and third strings are getting better and better each week as they get more reps. And then, you know, you start to look at your future like, oh, do I really belong here? Am I going to be able to come back and be that second string quarterback, or am I still going to be able to have a fighting chance?
I think that's a lot to do with. I think he would have stayed at second because he would have been okay with that, because I think Michigan would have played him quite a bit.
And then he, after his injury, after, what was it, the Ohio State game, I think he announced his transfer.
The day after, yep.
And then he announced his transfer to Iowa 3 days later. It was 3 days later. And then Eric All, being a crybaby on Twitter, and the way he did it. The way he did it was just absolutely petty.
The way he did it.
Yeah,
he didn't have to say anything. He didn't
exactly.
Yeah.
He didn't have to throw shade at Michigan and do what he said.
It was passive aggressive. He's like,
then,
I didn't say anything. I don't want to do anything. Well, you did by saying, I'm not going to say some prompt. It's not always what it appears.
Yeah, exactly. And then for Cade to go on there and raw dog Michigan like that and whatnot, I hope the kid loses at Iowa. Like, I don't feel sorry for him.
I wish I had some interviews what you said before, because, but
No, I know. I was all for Cade.
Circumstances change. You have a right to change your mind. It's not that you're flip-flopping.
Exactly.
Circumstances change it.
And like, I mean, I will always appreciate what he did for, you know, the University of Michigan and whatnot, and what it led to now. Like, what he did started something that will be forever changing.
And that's because of Cade. And no matter what happened, Cade is like you said, he did what he did. That doesn't change. I'm not gonna say, oh, he sucked. He's this. He's this. But how he handling is crap. It really is. He didn't even say thank you when he transferred. Didn't say a word. Didn't thank the fans. Didn't thank anybody. And if you listen to that interview, it's almost like he was dogged in Michigan and this and that.
Yeah.
You know.
And the way he approached the situation with the whole JJ thing, you know, he heard the white noise outside of the lines. He heard, you know, everybody wanted JJ. He felt good going into spring practice because, you know, JJ didn't
wasn't there. Yeah.
participate because of the shoulder and whatnot. So he felt good going into training camp. And then Harbaugh was like, well, you know, this is Michigan, and you know there's going to be a quarterback situation because we have two really great quarterbacks.
So that's your only choice. That's what you got to do.
And for you to, you know, be a crybaby about it and whine about it and, you know,
man up and win the competition.
Exactly. Step up. You want this position so bad, step up. And you lost, and so after the season, you wanted to transfer, which is cool.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know a single Michigan fan that's upset that he's transferring.
Yeah, I mean,
we all expected it.
Yeah, exactly.
You saw those posts and what we talked about. I had a Tim's take about that, thanking him for every. I thought he was just it.
And then to go and then for him to go on an interview or a podcast or whatever the hell it was, and throw the program under the bus like that. And
yeah, like Jim, I thought it was just weird. I thought I'd implying that he was just shocked. How could he be shocked that there's a competition?
It's football.
Yeah,
it's football.
And then he even said in his first game, I played very well my first game against. He was explaining what happened. You know what? You played okay.
You played subpar.
And some people would say, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, even saying okay. You know. But there was no, if he really was surprised that he didn't get that based on his performance, and he's just not being a realist. Yeah. But, you know, come back and win the job back or be a solid second, because I do believe Jim would have been playing. And I like what he said. Then he put me in scrub up time. Almost mad that he put him in against UConn in scrub time. Like, yeah, big deal. You know.
That's what happens.
That's what happens when you're second string.
Exactly.
And I think if he'd stayed, he probably would have played some more meaningful snaps. But, you know, he got hurt, and that's nobody's fault. What I blame is how he handled it and how all handled it. They want to transfer. They can do anything they want. Just thank the team, thank the fans, and say it's time to move on and leave it like that. But no, they can't do that. But like we said, we lost him. We got Luke Hamilton, or not Luke Hamilton, excuse me, Hogan Hansen from Washington. And I think that guy is going to be, I mean, how many great tight ends are we going to have?
Yeah.
So I think we're doing real well. Have you, do you know, what do you think about all these recruits the last couple of weeks all flipping, or we got one guy from the transfer portal?
Already, yeah. I'm very excited to see how the next 5 years for Jim Harbaugh's career at Michigan unfold.
So since Ohio,
I feel like, okay, so besides Georgia, outside of Georgia, depending on how they play against Ohio State, okay, I feel like Michigan is now the team to beat in the country.
Oh, absolutely.
Due to the fact that, yes, we lost quite a bit of key players on offense and defense last year, but we have a better defense now this year than we did last year, which is saying something. Like, that is saying something. They're year 2 in their defense. They kept the same offensive style that they went with when Josh Gaddis left last year. And I genuinely feel like Michigan is the team in the country to beat. Ahead of Georgia, ahead of the Ohio State, ahead of Clemson. I mean, ahead of Alabama. I feel like Michigan is now the superior team in NCAA football.
Well, here's my opinion. Yes, but I would hit the brakes just a little bit. A few years ago, well, you're shaking your head, but I have my opinion. A couple of years ago, people would say there was Alabama. Then there was, they were in a league by themselves. Then there was like LSU and Clemson. Then there was that second, and then there was everybody else. Until we beat Georgia, we're that second tier. We're above Ohio State. It's Georgia, and it's not like Georgia then the rest. It's Georgia, Michigan, then the rest. So where we're at, that's amazing that we're there. But I believe we have to beat Georgia. If Georgia comes out and dominates Michigan, we're not at Georgia's level because we got killed last year.
And I think that this year, I think this year, if we do get the chance to play Georgia, it's going to be a completely different ball game. You're going to see everybody step up to levels that you've never seen these kids play before, because I can almost guarantee you if it's at the national stage.
I agree with that.
So
does that mean you want to play Georgia? If you could pick Georgia or Ohio State?
Georgia.
I hear a lot of people saying Michigan or Ohio State, and I get it. You want to bury them once and for all and that would be unbelievable. But I don't think Ohio State deserves it. They don't deserve to have a chance.
They do not.
And you don't want to play a team a second time. Not that we wouldn't beat them, because we would. But you never know. And if we were somehow to lose to that Ohio State team a second time, what does it do? It takes away that glorious victory. It's not fair. And getting back to the recruit, all I want to say is we got 4 guys from Ohio in the last week after that win.
Did we really?
Ishmael, Cameron, and Luke Hamilton, and who else do we get? Jason Hooley. And I want to make a comment about Luke Hamilton. He's the number 8 over offensive lineman in the nation. He said he went to Ohio, and he said how he was treated, he just felt like like he was nobody. He just wasn't treated like anybody special. He went to Michigan. He said you would have thought he was the next Bryce Young or whatever. He was just incredible. So how Michigan, whatever they're doing things right.
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to get into Mazi real quick. You know what? It's over and done with. He pleaded not guilty, or he pleaded to a misdemeanor. That's hopefully go off his record. He didn't do it. It looks like he was going to a pistol range to shoot, which he does all the time. He was maybe made a big mistake mentally, and he needs to pay for that because it was a mistake. And he's going through all that, but it shouldn't affect his football. So, real quick, Michigan, or the 4 teams, Michigan is just, here's what real quick, we got to wrap this up, but I wanted to say this. When it comes to defense, these are Michigan is 3.3. That's their overall rating nationally in all the major defensive categories. Georgia is 6.6. Ohio State is 14. And TCU is 61st. Okay.
Wow.
What's that tell you? Hey, it tells you that Michigan and Georgia are the top 2 teams. Ohio State is, like I said, the next level. But TCU, their defense, they've got a good offense, but defensively, I just don't see them stopping us, to be honest. Now, we're going to have a show here. I don't know when, but it's going to be all it's going to be talking about is Michigan versus TCU and Ohio State versus Georgia. We don't have time to go through that today, but we're going to get into that. I'm going to be at the game in New Year's Eve, and hopefully, if we can technically get it worked out, I'll call in or do a Zoom. We'll do something, some type of report from there. And Ohio State, Georgia, I'm hearing a lot of people picking Ohio State. What do you think they got? I mean, they got a chance, but do you think they're going to win?
No.
I just don't. That defense, I think Georgia.
I got Georgia winning by like 28.
No.
The way they played against Michigan,
but
and against Maryland,
they have a
and
second
against
lease
Penn
on
State.
life. Second lease on life, dude.
No,
not going to do that. I'm picking Georgia by about
Call it.
10.
No way.
No way. And let's finish up. We'll get into Michigan basketball later. They had a great game against Minnesota. Finally thought they looked good. Lions. Oh my gosh, what they did against Jacksonville. I don't think I've ever had a Lion game that I could watch and not get worried.
Yep.
You could feel they weren't going to give that up.
Yeah.
It was over in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Not points wise, but you could just tell this is a different one. This is a real.
Physically, they were dominating.
This is not the
on
same
all
Lions.
aspects.
They're young. They're getting better. That's what I keep telling everybody. Minnesota Lions biggest game in probably 10 years here. I mean, since the playoffs back in.
Easily.
In 2011 and those years with Matt Stafford when we lost.
This is a divisional matchup, and it's key to us making the playoffs if we really want that.
Who's going to win? Are you surprised that Lions are favorite when they're 5-7? Minnesota is 10-2.
Yeah, I got Lions by 7.
Yeah, I'm picking the Lions by about 7, and it could be more. It really could be more.
The way they've been balling,
And they got everybody back. I mean, and they not only do they got all the receivers back, they got, I think, Jameson Williams he was back last week, but he wasn't. I mean,
he was just a punt returner pretty much.
Yeah, and he had 7 snaps. I think he'll get 15 to 18 snaps. You got, of course, Jamal Williams, and then
dude's been balling this year.
Him and DeAndre is becoming DeAndre again.
Yeah.
So watch out. All I hear is defense. They're 29th. What are they in the last 5? I'd like to know where they are in the last 5. This is not that 20. This is not a 29th, 30th defense. I don't care what you say. I don't care what the stats say. You look at this team, and they got all their guys back. The rookies are coming. I mean, Kirby Joseph from Illinois is just a beast. So I would not. Minnesota could beat us. I don't think they're going to. I'm taking the Lions. And before we go off, I just want to let everybody know there's going to be a little name change. We're changing it from Wolverine Chat and more because we just want people to know that there's more than just Michigan football. A lot of Michigan basketball, especially as we get into the Big Ten season. Lions we're going to follow throughout. So there'll be a few things. We may talk other sports. Who knows? We'll see. But we love you guys. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Go Blue to get in that drawing for the Big Ten. Would love to know your opinion on Michigan's top 5 coaches. And if you want to throw in there, tell me who do you want to play and why? Georgia or Ohio State? And I would love that. Any comments before you
No.
say goodbye? Okay, well, I'm glad you were able to join in there. I don't think you sounded bad at all, so don't worry about it. It was a lot of help. We love doing this. Look forward to seeing you guys and talking to you down in Fiesta or in the Fiesta Bowl down in Glendale. And I guess that's it. Go Blue. Love you guys, and we'll talk to you in a later episode.
Go Blue.